Okay, my companions, let's get started. Let's just take a breath a minute. Just take a minute and have a little 30 seconds, 10 seconds of silence to just allow us to connect and collect ourselves. Let's just connect and collect ourselves. Let's just chill out. Let's remember what our purpose is. Let's remember why we're here. Ask yourself, why did I decide to come? What's my purpose for being here tonight? Because the purpose will determine the outcome. Take a deep breath. And just remind yourself that you don't have to believe any of the ideas that we're going to cover tonight. And you don't have to accept any of the ideas that we're going to cover tonight. And you don't have to believe any of the ideas we're going to cover tonight. And you don't have to accept any of the ideas that we're going to cover tonight. Some of the ideas that we're going to cover tonight are going to be hard to believe. Some of the ideas we cover tonight, you may say you don't understand. Do you know that it's not about analyzing the ideas? This is just a stage of hearing the ideas. Just letting yourself hear something different. Being willing to hear something that a part of your mind may say to you that it's insane and that it's weird. I like to hear weird. I like to hear things that are different, that stretch my imagination and my mind. And that's what you're going to hear today. And if you use the ideas that you hear tonight, it can bring you a lot more peace and happiness in your life and inside yourself. But whether you know it or not, there's a part of your mind that doesn't want you to hear the ideas tonight. There's a part of you that doesn't think you deserve to have that complete peace and joy and abundance that you like to have. That part of you is going to do everything that it can to distract you from hearing everything that I say tonight. Point taken. That's why I study this stuff, because it continually proves to be true all the time. And we're going to be in the way of the heart, and we're going to be on page of the way of mastery, the way of the heart, lesson 10, on page 129. And we're going to start with the paragraph that's at the top of the page that says be, which is interesting. The first sentence says, be therefore not distracted. That's the first thing it says. Be not distracted. So I'm going to go deep tonight. And so we're going to cover, so I'm putting myself on a timer to make sure that I give us a chance to discuss it. And then I'm putting the discussion on a timer to make sure that we get a chance to hear what it's saying. So hold your questions until the discussion question section of the class. It says, be therefore not distracted, because in the end of this age, there's coming forth a whole smorgasbord of those people who profess to be teachers of enlightenment. There's going to be a lot of people who say they're a teacher of enlightenment in the end of this age. And they will say they're teachers of enlightenment who will guide you into all knowledge. Look carefully. First thing, check out, do they demand that you follow them? Do they demand that you give up your own discernment, which is the same as saying don't analyze? Do these teachers that you are attracted to, do they ask you to look deeper within? Do they ask what you are feeling? Do they ask what you are thinking? Do they ask what do you want to do? Are you willing to accept responsibility for the effect? Are you willing to accept responsibility for the result? Are you willing to accept responsibility for the effect? What do you believe? What do you believe? What do you want? You are free. 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 I'm equal to you. I'm just in the role of a temporary guide for you. And someday you will be far, far, far beyond me. How do these teachers speak? What do these teachers teach? Is there fear filtering into their words? Do they believe that they must teach you to control the forces of nature? Do they teach you that you need to control the forces of the mind? Do they teach you that you need to protect yourself against evil? Well, there are many who profess to be teachers of enlightenment, and there's going to be a lot more who claim to be teachers of enlightenment. And when you hear these things coming from them, turn and flee from their presence, for you don't need them. You're already beyond them. It's interesting. What you do is you ask, how can I extend my treasure this day? How can I extend my love this day? How can I extend my peace this day? How can I extend my love this day? And lay up treasures where moth and dust cannot corrupt. That is where time, you want to put your treasures where time, materiality, the body, and the world can't hook you. You want to put yourself on a level of consciousness where time, materiality, the body, and the world cannot hook you. What does that mean? It means you need to lay up treasures that are in heaven. What does that mean? The Webb Master's definition of heaven is you need to lay up your treasures in forgiveness, in peace, and recognizing you're unlimited, and recognizing that you need to put your treasure into that which brings you joy, and you need to put your treasure into that which puts a smile on your face. You need to lay up for yourself these treasures, and then everything else will be added to you. So what is this saying? It's saying if you'll focus on learning what forgiveness means, if you'll focus on wanting peace, if you'll focus on wanting to get in touch with how unlimited you are, if you'll get in touch with putting your time and energy into that which brings you joy and a smile, everything else you need in this world will be added to you. It will be given to you. All those other things that you may need to make it will be given to you. Most people do just the opposite. They focus on all the other things. And so it says, for there is a way of being in the world that requires no planning. There's a way of being in the world that requires no striving. Wow. Now, how do you enter into a world that you don't have to plan and strive all the time in order to be happy, in order to have what you need? It just requires one thing, relinquishing fear. So to enter into a world where you don't have to plan, you don't have to strive, everything you need will be given to you. You focus on your forgiveness, your peace, your unlimitedness, the recognition that you're unlimited, and focus your attention on what brings you joy and what puts a smile on your face. I'm going to say some of the things over and over because it's like a hammer. You know, you don't drive a nail in with one blow. So I'll say this again. If you want to live a life that you're not always having to plan everything and strive all the time and struggle all the time, because everything that you need will be given to you, then you have to go beyond a level that you're letting the world hook you, which simply means you're living by the values of a fearful world. You're living by the values of fearful people. Most of us were raised and taught by people who were afraid, who thought that their happiness happened through everything outside of themselves, who probably believed they were a victim of things, and they believed if they had power, money, fame, and physical pleasure, that in and of itself you were going to be okay. Being hooked by the world is believing that your happiness comes from anything other than having a state of consciousness, a way of thinking that allows all things to be added to you because you're unlimited, because you are magnetic, because you are unlimited spiritual being. So what does it take to have that kind of existence? We were just told what it takes to have that kind of existence is the relinquishing of fear, which is the same as saying relinquishing the idea that we're separate from each other, that we're different from each other, that we're not connected to each other, that we're not loving beings, and that we don't deserve love. And you all do. So how do you let go of your fear? Well, to enter into the easy life, is anybody in here that wants to enter into the easy life? Okay, I just want to check in, those who want to struggle, that's easy to do. It's easy to struggle. But we want to, okay, so he says the way that you do it is you have to commit to teaching only love, which means demonstrating it. And he says until your whole mind becomes so whole that it's not divided between fear and love. Most people's minds are divided between fear and love. So when you get to the point that your mind is whole in love, you're not having to struggle, you're not having to strive, you're not having to plan, and everything that you want is added to you, and you're full of forgiveness, peace, unlimitedness, and recognition of your unlimited power, and you're only focusing on the things that brings you joy and puts a smile on your face. So the way you could start that is by focusing on the people already in your life that put a smile on your face. Make it easy. So what am I saying? Don't start with the toughest people, the toughest situations, the situations that cause you the most conflict. Don't spend all your time trying to resolve the conflict so much as spending your time focusing on what you're grateful for and what gives you joy and happiness. To me, that's easier than trying to make myself like. Some people think your spiritual path, the spiritual path is a path where you're spending most of your time trying to make yourself like people you don't. Or you're trying to make yourself like a job that you don't. It's almost like it's approached almost like your life is supposed to be trying to make yourself love what you don't love. Or do what you don't want to do. I call it the oughta, gotta, shouldas. My life is based on I oughta, I gotta, I shoulda. I oughta, I gotta, I shoulda. I got to get up tomorrow. I got to go to work tomorrow. I should be telling you something. I ought to be saying something. So you want to get beyond oughta, gotta, shoulda to want to. Love to, desire to. So it's telling us, well, how do you do that? You have to learn how to relinquish fear. How do you learn how to relinquish fear? Make a commitment to your freedom. Make a commitment to your freedom. Make a commitment to your freedom. Then it goes on and says there's a way of being in the world that's not really in the world at all. Your body still looks like it's here. It looks like your bodies are here. He says, but you still act just like everybody else. You still act just like everybody thinks you act. Did you hear that? You still act like everybody thinks you act. See, people who are waking up in higher consciousness recognize other people who are waking up in higher consciousness. You recognize each other. And people who are not trying to be more loving, who still are blaming and projecting, they also see you, but they think you're just like them. So they're either people who see you as you are because you're like them, or there are people who think you're like them and you're not like them at all. But since they assume you are, they still don't give you a hard time. In most cases, they're cool with you until you open your mouth. So you're the one that takes yourself into all the conflict that you go through with people who don't think like you. I'm not saying you shouldn't communicate. I'm saying that they think of you as like them because that's the way we assume. But he says, but those who are trying to grow, those who are trying to be more conscious, those who are trying to be more loving, those who are trying to do it differently, they recognize each other. So you're never going to be alone if you're truly trying to open up to love and you're really trying to grow. There's no such thing as a matter of fact, there's nothing you can think of that you can be alone in. Think of the weirdest thing you can think of and then Google it. And you'll see it's a website somewhere with it on there. You know, if the thing you love the most that you think nobody else could possibly love, just Google it. And somebody's there who wants to do the same thing you want to do. It's impossible to be alone in anything that you're really into. When I hear people say they've been studying the truth for years, but they don't ever attract anybody that's into the truth, or anybody that's conscious, or anybody that's loving, then that should be a clue to them that they're not really into it yet. They're still contemplating being into it. They're analyzing being into it. They're studying being into it, but they're not really into it. Because the minute you really become it, you'll attract other people who match that energy. Right? I never have a hard time meeting people who want to evolve in their consciousness, male or female, anymore, no matter where I go. And that can also be at Jazzy Jack's. It can be at a club, it can be at a party. I'm not saying I'm always hanging around in what people think of as quote-unquote spiritual environments to meet people. It's anywhere I go because that's what I'm into for real. So you don't have to worry about attracting people who are more loving when you become more loving. You don't have to worry about attracting people who are more tolerant of you and treat you with respect and honor when you are doing it with yourself. So the people around you are mirroring what you really feel about yourself that you don't know you feel about yourself. And so that means they could be more loving than you think you deserve. They can be as loving as you think you deserve. They can seem like they are not as loving as you think you deserve. But all of those people are letting you know what's going on in your own mind and what's going on in your own consciousness. So he says you will still act like everybody else thinks you act. That is, they'll know your name, they'll know where you live, they'll know which car you're supposed to drive, they'll know whom you go home to at night. But through it all, there is pervaded in your consciousness a transparency as you look upon all things. Whatever feelings arise, they just come and go. When you start to wake up, you don't obsess over every feeling that you have. You don't go, oh my God, I'm really feeling upset today. This is really a big issue for me. Oh my God, I'm feeling really good today. This is a good issue for me. When you become more conscious, you'll go, I feel angry right now. That's my call for love, and I'm not going to beat myself up about that. That's just the way I feel right now. I feel thrilled right now. God, I'm glad I feel thrilled right now. In other words, you just let your feelings come and go, because if you don't grab it, it'll pass through. What happens is we grab it. Oh, I'm upset. Let me put that over here and go back to that and analyze that. Oh, I'm depressed today. What is that about? Let me grab that feeling, put it over here. I come back later and I'll analyze that. Oh my God, I'm feeling jealous right now. Okay, let me take that over there. Let me put it down and let me analyze it. So we create a library of pain, a laboratory of pain, where we're constantly analyzing our feelings. When you go, this is the way I feel right now. I'm not going to pretend I don't feel this way right now. It'll rise, it'll go. So a conscious being uses time completely different from the way a person that's asleep. A person that's asleep makes every feeling and emotion a big deal. When I go through a day and I'm trying to become more conscious, and sometimes I make myself feel depressed, and feeling depressed, this means that you think there's something that you want that you can't have. That's what depression is. It's the feeling of there's something that I want that I think I can't have, or something that I want that's not happening. Okay, so if I'm feeling depressed, then that lets me know that I'm deceiving myself about the truth. So my depression becomes a reminder of the truth. I'm feeling depressed. I'm telling myself I want something that I can't have. That's a lie. There's no such thing as me wanting something that's real that I can't have. There can only be something unreal that I want that I can't have. Anything that's real, the truth teaches that anything that's real is always something you can have right now, and anything that's unreal is always something you have to wait for the future to have. So real love is something I can have now. Something that's not real, I'm projecting it into the future, just seeing it as being something in my past. So if I'm depressed, I'm deceived. I'm deceived because I'm asking for something that doesn't exist. I couldn't be depressed if I was asking for what I already have. So the healer's prayer is, let me be able to recognize what I already have. We already been blessed with abundance, love, support, peace. We don't know it. That's why I'm depressed. So what I need is to be able to recognize what I already have. I want to recognize the relationship that I already have instead of feeling like I'm lonely. I want to recognize the abundance I already have instead of acting like I'm in lack. I have abundance. I don't see it. I want to recognize what I already have. So let me throw it open now for discussion or any questions about what I've covered from the Way of Mastery. so far, and it can be a comment or a question. I welcome the way you think and hear how you think and what your inner guide is saying to you, as well as being helpful in answering any question that I can be helpful with. Because we covered a lot. Everybody's completely clear and in agreement and understand everything that they just heard. Yeah.
So you mentioned about assuming.
About what?
You mentioned about assuming.
Yeah.
Like we assume stuff.
Yeah.
And it's it's interesting that you mentioned that, because like for the past couple of days, my assuming has gotten me into some dissonance with people, which is creating guilt in me, because I, instead of assuming, I should have just made sure. And then now yeah, like you're saying, I'm feeling that guilt.
Why does that make you feel guilty? Why is that something to feel guilty about?
Well, because the other person, they're like, well, you lost credibility in my eyes now because, you were assuming and you weren't firm on this, And so then now I feel like I let someone down.
Okay, so wouldn't it be cooler to just see that as that was an error I made in my perception, and now I just want to not do that again and do it another way? Guilt is a request for punishment. So whenever you feel guilty, you're telling the universe, punish me, punish me, punish me, punish me. That punishment comes in a variety of forms. It comes in the form of you not feeling good about yourself. It comes in the form of financial lack. It comes in the form of health issues. It comes in the form of lack. It comes in the form of attack. So do you think you deserve to go through all of that just because you assumed something?
No.
Okay. So that's what you want to keep in mind. It's okay to say, okay, that was an error in my perception and I want another way to look at it. And the only afterward message is maybe I shouldn't do that again. But what we're learning how to do is to let go of the belief that punishment is correction, and to recognize that looking at it another way is a correction, and then acting on that new way of looking at it. And if you do have the feeling of guilt come up, let it come up, feel it, acknowledge it, and say, there's another way I want to look at this, and then let it go. See, the way you get past guilt is to have tolerance for it. Tolerance in the sense that you go, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now, and this is the way I've been programmed to feel right now. I'm in the process right now learning how to have a different response. So I'm going to be tolerant of my old responses while I'm on the way to using my new responses all the time. Does that make sense to everybody? It's like, as long as you beat yourself up every time you have a negative feeling and emotion, you're actually increasing that negative feeling and emotion. But if you can have tolerance for your own upset, your own anger, your own selfishness, your own jealousy, your own insecurity, you're actually taking the power away from it, because if it's weak, if it's a weakness, it doesn't have any power. Think about that. If it's a weakness, like there's a line in the Course in Miracles where he says, how can you not succeed if only weakness stands in the way? Because weakness has no power. That's why it's called weakness. If it had the power to stop something, it would be strength. So when you say I have a weakness, then you're actually saying this is something that isn't powerful, which is different. Okay. So again, when I share things, it's very important that we keep in mind that what we're doing is introducing new ideas to our minds, which isn't the same as saying you should be perfect in expressing it. Okay? So don't put that pressure on yourself to say, now every time someone says something to me, I'm never going to feel guilty again. No, what I want to do when I feel guilty is remind myself that I'm requesting punishment for myself, and what kind of sense does that make, instead of me saying, you know what, that was an error in perception and I want to do it another way.
Right.
Okay, and then one day what happened is, instead of that person saying something about your integrity or whatever they were saying, they would recognize that it was just a call for love. It's funny how we have a tendency to condemn other people for the things that if we did it, we want to be forgiven for. It's like I want everybody else to overlook my mistakes, but then I want them to be hung from the highest tree for theirs. And so if you have that attitude, that's the kind of people you're going to be surrounded by, because you're going to call those kind of people to you, because that's the way you are. So when you need compassion and understanding, it won't be there for you in your perception, because that's not the muscle you've been building up in the way you've been dealing with yourself. Not the muscle you've been building up in terms of how you were dealing with other people, but do you have compassion for yourself? Do you love yourself? Do you honor yourself? Do you treat yourself? Because everybody's going to treat you the way you treat yourself, even more than they're going to treat you the way you treat them. They're going to treat you more the way you treat yourself. That's deep. Yeah, Peter.
If I am in a situation, and
Please speak loud, Peter. Thank you.
If I'm in a situation,
Okay.
with a person, and I want to try to come from that space of the Holy Spirit and explain to them my feelings, am I manipulating them, or am I like giving them how I feel, even if I'm taking the responsibility for my feelings and saying, this is how I feel, I'm responsible for this, as a way to try to move forward? Am I actually unconsciously trying to manipulate them?
You're only trying to manipulate them according to what this teaches. If you have a demand about how they should respond to what you're sharing. If you're sharing something with me and you've made up in your mind how I should react to what you're saying, now that's a form of manipulation. If you're sharing how you feel because you need to communicate it, and you are willing to not have a demand about how they should respond, how they should receive your gift, then you're in a centered, loving place.
I was in a situation recently, and I said to the person, this is how I feel about this, but this is my responsibility. Everything that happened, I take as my responsibility. I just wanted you to know how I felt.
Right.
And then as I looked at it, and then they said, well, I'm sorry, and I said, you don't need to be sorry. I just want to express with you, because I don't want us to butt heads.
Okay, well, that would not be a manipulation. That would be what it was just saying earlier about focusing on forgiveness, right? We were told if you focus on forgiveness, peace, unlimitedness, and the recognition of your unlimited power, then that's when you'll get into a level of consciousness that things will start to be added to you, and it won't require a lot of planning or striving. So according to what we're just hearing, that was not manipulation. That was you getting to the point that you really wanted to have nothing but love added into your life. Okay, but what I'm saying is that a lot of times when people say they want to talk to you or they want to share their feelings with you, they also have a built-in expectation about how you should be responding to what they're saying. And that's when the ego comes in. Because you've got a script for how they should respond to what you're saying, and that's a setup for you. Okay? Many times, you know why people don't want you, sometimes people are afraid to tell people what they really think, is because they can't handle the other person saying back to them what they really think. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I really tell you, this really bugs me about you, and this is what I wish you would change. Right? And then you turn around, well, you know what? There's some stuff I've been wanting to tell you about you too. So I'm going to tell you how I'm perceiving you. And then that's when people get freaked out, because they can't take what they give. They want to be able to tell you everything they think in the kind of way they want to say it to you. But when you turn around and tell them what you feel and they're crushed and devastated, well, then they should not even be talking to you until they get to the point that they feel innocent enough about what they're saying that they can handle any reaction that you give them. The minute I get reactionary, then I know I'm equal to whatever is going on in front of me. That I'm not different from the person that I'm getting upset with or about. We both are equal in our misperception of how we should see things. So, I thought I saw another hand, then I'm going to go further. Yeah, my brother.
What's true forgiveness?
True forgiveness would be you're recognizing that no one's done anything to you in the first place.
And you can use that for yourself as well, right?
Realizing that you haven't done anything to yourself in the first place, because you're an unlimited spirit and not your opinion of yourself. Mm-hmm. So most people don't know themselves. They just know what they made up about themselves, or what they think about themselves, or what the image they call it self-image. Like everybody has a self-image, but they think their self-image is them. So I've made up who I think Earl Purdy is, and then now I'm dealing with the world in terms of how much it matches the image of Earl Purdy that I have. But I've forgotten that I'm not that image. I'm an unlimited spiritual being that chose that image. Like whoever it is that's choosing how you see yourself, that's you. Not the way you see yourself is you. It's whatever part of you that's choosing to see yourself that way. That's what you want to get in touch with. Who is the you behind the idea that you have about yourself? Because from the time you were born, everybody's been telling you who you are and what's true and what's false. And then when you get to the point you can make all these erroneous conclusions on your own, you're called a member of society. Okay, in other words, when I start calling myself and looking at myself the way everybody told me I am, now I'm a member of society. And so now I got the same erroneous ideas about myself that everybody else has. And how do you know it's erroneous? Because you're not experiencing joy. So if you're not a joyful person, you have wrong perceptions of who and what you are. It's just that simple. We want to make it complicated, but it's not complicated. If you are miserable, you're wrong in the way you're seeing yourself. If you feel unloved, you're wrong. If you think you're valueless, you're not seeing yourself correctly. So you want to be around people who know when you're lying about who you are, who love you past how you feel about yourself. You know, but to even let people like that into your life, you have to really want to let go of your blocks. Most people don't want to do the work to do that. It's just easier to hope they meet somebody one day that's going to give them the value that they don't have for themselves. You know, Miss Wright is going to show up, and she's going to make me feel so good about who I am and so valued. I just can't wait. No, I'm not waiting. I will see myself that way. I'm not going to wait for you to tell me I'm valuable. Because in most cases, you're not going to tell me that unless I'm acting out a script that you've set up for me. So if I wait for you to tell me I'm valuable, I might be waiting for the next 6 months because you may not think I'm valuable unless I take you on a trip to Hawaii. You see what I'm saying? If I make my value based on you, then I might not ever love myself. But the funny part about it is as soon as you start valuing yourself, it seems like everybody else starts to value you too, and you get more invitations to Hawaii than you could ever keep. Try it. It works. All right, so let's go to the next part of it, see what it's saying. Okay, because I want to get to this part. He says a way of living in the world that don't require planning and striving. What about you?
Sure.
Okay, he says there's a way of being in the world that's not here at all. He says when feelings arise, he says they come and go, but somehow you begin to recognize that you are much larger than the things that come and go. That means that you are watching a dance of shadows. You're watching a dream gently passing by that is gone in a cosmic split second. He says this doesn't become a way in which you deny your experience. Rather, it gives you the freedom to embrace your experience, live your experience totally with passion. Live your experience totally with passion. Live your experience totally with passion. Passion. How much passion are you living with? Not yet. I mean, be honest with yourself. Are you passionate about what we're hearing? Are you passionate about the truth? Are you passionate about loving yourself? Are you passionate about your life? Are you passionate? Then it goes, says passionate about what? He says you're passionate with your purpose, you're passionate with power, and you're in perfect freedom. And how can you tell when you are living in freedom, embracing your freedom, living it totally with passion, with purpose, and with power, and in perfect freedom? You can tell because you will experience no anxiety, no pressure, no anxiety, and no feeling of pressure. You just feel the willingness to dance in the world of dreams while remaining awake. In other words, you'd be right in the middle of this and you dancing your way through it without any anxiety or any pressure, with a lot of passion, a lot of purpose, and a lot of freedom, and you embracing what's going on in your life instead of opposing what's going on in your life all the time. So what's depressing about these kind of classes a lot of times is that they make people so aware of how way off they are from their true self. Because you go, well, I don't feel that way about much that's going on in my life right now. Great. Because you needed to recognize that so that you can begin to let that in. Because the only thing the universe is doing is just asking you to say, I'm willing to go in the direction of my freedom. I'm willing to go in the direction of my power. I'm willing to go in the direction of my passion. It's not saying you have to know exactly how to have that happen. What we're hoping that will happen is that you'll leave here going, I'm really sincere about moving in the direction of my passion and my power and my purpose and my unlimitedness. That's all that's being asked of us, is just to decide the direction we want to go in. The rest of it, as far as how to achieve it, will be given to us. He says what we do is the opposite. We don't really focus that much on what we want. He says we focus more on how to get it, which is the part we know the least about. It's much easier for me to say my purpose is passion and peace and unlimitedness and joy and abundance, and much more confidence than to tell you I know exactly how I'm going to make that happen in my life. So we focus on the part that we don't know, which it says increases our feeling of helplessness, which decreases your power. You would be more successful in getting what you want if you kept it clearly in mind than you would in trying to figure out how to have it. That's simpler. As a matter of fact, it teaches that your goal will create the way to achieve itself. That's why the goal needs to be clear. Because the goal will start to draw to you the people, the situations, and the circumstances that will help you achieve it. The goal. Because when you talk to most people, they don't know what they want. You say, what do you want? And that's when you see people throw their hands up. They'll tell you what they don't want. They're real quick to tell you people are real quick to tell you what they don't want. Let's go to the movie. I don't want to go to that movie theater. I don't want to go to that movie. Let me take you out to dinner. Well, I don't want to go to that restaurant. I don't want to eat this over here. Everybody's good at telling you what they don't want. You say, well, where do you want to go? I don't know. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Right? But then you come up with a suggestion. Well, I think I'd like to go. I don't want to go there. Right? Everybody knows what they want. And then the Course in Miracles teaches that whenever you say what you don't want and you focus on what you don't want, you project it out in your world. And then you meet it. Because I don't want it is a form of throwing it away. I don't want it. Then I meet it. And then he says that's why the people walk around and say, I'm always seems like getting what I don't want out of my life. Well, you're only focusing on what you don't want, and that's not a positive goal. Saying you don't want to be broke and poor is not the same as saying you want to be rich and abundant. Saying that I don't want to be alone is not the same as saying I want a meaningful, powerful, fulfilling relationship. What do you want? Okay, so it goes on to say that if indeed you have been practicing putting your 5 minutes in practice, what 5 minutes? 5 minutes of seeing yourself as unlimited. Just take 5 minutes of seeing yourself as powerful. Take 5 minutes to go, I'm not what I think I am. I am love. I am lovable. I am the Christ, which means I am love. I am lovable. I am loving. I am lovable. I am love. I am lovable. I am love. Just for 5 minutes, I'm going to see myself as love, but I don't have to feel like I'm loved. I don't even have to believe that I'm loved. I just need to say the truth about what I am, even if I don't know it. I am abundant does not mean I have to feel that I'm abundant. It doesn't mean I have to believe I'm abundant. You are abundant, so you're telling the truth about yourself, even if you don't believe it. You see the difference? If I say you deserve love, it has nothing to do with you believing that that you deserve love at first, because you deserve love. You are valuable. You are a treasure. It has nothing to do with whether or not you believe it. Now, how much you believe it determines how much you enjoy being with yourself. But it doesn't change. I could go, you know what? And I love to use real obvious examples. It's like if someone says to me, Raj, you are a man. Now, whether I believe that or not, it doesn't change the doggone thing about me being a man. It's the truth. So when I tell you you're loving and you're powerful and you're gorgeous and you're fantastic and you're beautiful, it's obvious that we don't believe it by the reaction that we have to hearing it. It's obvious that we don't believe it, or it would invoke Joy. Right? So we know we don't believe. We don't have to even jab ourselves. Do we believe it in this room? No. We're trying to allow ourselves to truly believe it. Right? But it's still the truth about you whether you believe it or not. It's the truth about you whether you believe it or not. I don't care if you believe it. It's the truth about you. Now that's the truth. So when you say stuff for 5 minutes that's true about yourself, even if you don't believe it, you're still reminding yourself of the truth about yourself. So it says it's going to carry you closer and closer and perhaps more and more deeply into the transparency I'm describing to you. What do we mean by transparency? Do you know that as you love yourself, everything that's unloving will pass through you and won't affect you at all? You will become transparent to negative, fearful energies, people, circumstances, and anything like that, because there won't be any place for it to hook on you. The more loving you become, people who aren't loving are not attracted to you. And if they are, it's only for a little while. So if all of a sudden you start changing and you start loving yourself more, and it looks like you're attracted to somebody and somebody's attracted to you, and then it doesn't last very long, say hallelujah, thank you God, because that meant that there was something about your vibration that person could not hang with you. And if you know you're being loving and you're trying to be giving and you're trying to be kind and you're coming from an unlimited place and they run away from you, thank God you've been saved. But if you're still in that old mind, you'll be, oh, I'm rejected again. This is another person. Something's wrong with me. I can't seem to keep anybody that want to love me. It's like, you've been saved. The job you get fired from, you've been saved. The job you got laid off from, you get saved. You've been saved. You've been saved. When you start to change and love yourself, the things around you are going to change because you're no longer selling for less than what you deserve. So wherever you've been selling for less than what you deserve, it's going to drop away. And if you don't understand that, you think you're getting into the truth and your life is more upset and more confused than it's ever been before. And the only thing that's happening is all the stuff that's unworthy of you is moving away, which is great. He says, so that transparency grows to a point, you might think of it as a critical mass, when suddenly you as a beingness can no longer even hold the thought of yourself as a body in space and time. Woo! Now this is deep, y'all. Now you can hear some deep stuff. I'm going to tell you something deep. You want to hear something deep?
Yes.
Okay, here it goes. He says, you're going to get to the point that you're going to stop thinking of yourself as a body in space and time. He says, then the body simply dissolves away. What does that mean? It just means you stop seeing yourself as limited by your body. You start to recognize you're more than your body. You're bigger than your body. What you really is this vast, unlimited consciousness and mind that's creating your reality through your consciousness. Then it says, then your consciousness will never experience the limitations of the body again, but you will bring the joys that bodily experience taught with you, for they will be imprinted in your consciousness forever. You will get bigger than your body, but you always feel all the joys that you ever experienced when you thought that was all you were. So it's no sacrifice. Every joy you've ever experienced in thinking you're a body, you'll get a chance to feel that, but you'll feel something so much more vast than that it'll blow your mind. I don't know how to tell you this, but there's something that's even greater and better than anything you've ever experienced in your body that will blow your mind, because it won't be limited by your body. Suppose there was a way for you to touch everybody in here without physically doing it. Suppose you could join with everybody in here without having to go through their fears around their body. But we could directly connect with each other. Anybody that's been in a successful long-distance relationship knows exactly what I'm talking about. They know that it's not necessary to physically touch that person to feel their connection and the energy and the love and the passion between them. I have very loving relationships with people who aren't necessarily in my physical reality, because I don't believe my consciousness is limited by this body, so I can reach out and touch people in ways that they wouldn't even understand, which is really great. It's best they don't know. Because people who would be afraid don't even need to know you're giving them love, because the Course teaches that there's nothing that we're more afraid of than joining. That you want to know what we're really afraid of. He says we're afraid of joining. We're afraid for us to connect with each other. So It says, this earth is a beautiful place, but it's also a pale reflection of the radiant, transcendent beauty of the good and the holiness that pervades creation. So what are you supposed to do here? Love it, embrace it, thank it, but don't cling to it. Oh, I'm in a relationship with you. I'm going to love you, embrace you, thank you, but I'm not going to cling to you. Oh, whatever's going on in this physical world, I'm going to love it, I'm going to embrace it, I'm going to thank it, but I'm not going to cling to it. So what you're supposed to do here is love it, embrace it, be grateful for it, but don't cling to it. Love it, embrace it, be thankful for it, but don't cling to it. Love it, embrace it, thank it, but don't cling to it. Love them, embrace them, thank them, but don't cling to them. That's just the opposite. Usually in regular relationships, people fear it, don't embrace it, not grateful for it, and cling to it. And the average person, the way they do it in relationships, I'm afraid I'm jealous, so I'm afraid of losing it. Then I'm going to actually not embrace it because I'm busy criticizing and judging. I'm not thanking you, and I'm clinging to you. Please don't leave me. Please don't let me go. Please. Okay. Comments, questions, thoughts about any of that? And try to, if you can, try to use what we're talking about as the theme of questions and comments, if at all possible. I don't want the class to be a therapy session. I really don't. And sometimes the questions are therapy sessions. What I'd like the classes to be is the clarification of the things that we're talking about, so that we can get a clearer way of actually embracing it and using it. So that's what I'd like to invite, because it's real easy in classes like this for that to happen. That it becomes, well, I'm having a problem with my boss today, but really that's a therapy session. It really is, okay, what is it saying that I need to remember in order to have an experience that I don't struggle, that I don't have to strive, I don't have to plan, and things will be given to me. I need to remember what it said about that. How can I more clearly do that and remember that? Would be more in line with actually what we're being taught. Because it's really about remembering more than it is about understanding. And that's what people miss. Because I don't know about you, I hear stuff like this, then I leave the class and I forget I ever heard any of it. Because we go back into the sleep of forgetfulness. In other words, it's like pardon a wave. And when the ship goes through, and then after the ship goes through, the wave comes back together. That's what this is. This is a ship of truth on the ocean of the way you normally think. You leave, and the way you normally think comes right back like that again. And it's like you never heard it. So you have to stay in the ship instead of being tossed about the ocean. See? Yeah.
So how do I, if I'm willing to go in the direction of my happiness and my purpose and my passion, how do I know if I'm really doing that?
The way that you will know that you're beginning to do that would be that you would stop having so much anxiety and fear. You would stop feeling like you were under a lot of pressure. You would start to let your feelings come and go without judging yourself. You would be focusing more on your purpose and your freedom than you would be on the things in the world, knowing that all the things in the world that you need will be given to you if you're clear about your purpose and your passion and your freedom.
All right, so I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you're doing okay. And then wherever you're feeling the anxiety, that just means, oh, that's the area I need to get clearer about my purpose in. Great question. Mm-hmm.
I just think it's interesting because how simple it really is, because when you just live and decide that you're in abundance, which is truth, it's easy to live in that. But what I've noticed about myself personally that you kind of touched on is because of the way I was raised by someone with some fear, having someone who's fearful of money makes it so I'm afraid of being fearful of money. And so I'll work on being okay, money comes, money goes, but it also doesn't really end up leading to abundance there either, because then I'm just spendthrift, because I'm I'm not going to attach too much power to this money, which means I'm not going to be afraid of spending it, but the real fear is that I'm afraid of being afraid of money. Is that?
And then
Yeah.
that goes back to what it was saying earlier about the way you relinquish the fear is making a commitment to love and making a commitment to freedom. Because if I'm making a commitment to freedom, that would also encompass freedom from lack.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I make that's why the truth moves us more toward content than form. Like money is a form that's neutral. It's neither good nor bad. But it's my fear about it that determines my experience of it. So the way you leap past that feeling of lack around money is the idea that I'm sustained by the love of God, I'm sustained by the universe, I'm sustained by spirit, I'm sustained by truth. And you begin to relinquish the idea that it's up to you alone to produce it.
Yeah.
And then you ask for to be able to recognize the abundance that you already have, that your fear is blocking. So in the beginning, you have to tell yourself things like that, even though it looks like it's not necessarily what you believe right now, or even what's happening. What happens is that a person can have a lifetime worth of programming. They say the truth 10 times, and then if it doesn't transform, they think it's not working.
Well, I've seen it work in my life in regards to love, because I used to be really afraid of losing love, so I'd never allow myself to have it.
Exactly.
And so, but yeah, I guess my point was that I love the course and I love what I'm learning here, because it's so funny how when we think we're not afraid of something, it's like we have, well, I guess the different ways that fear can come in. Like sometimes the fear can be fear of having fear, and
That's
it
right.
still produces
That's right.
the same exact result.
Exactly. And so it tells us that what we should do is to see the fear itself as a call for the thing that you think the fear is telling you that you think you're going to lose or not have. In other words, if I have fear around money, then that's at some level I got some kind of sense of lack or loss around that. So my fear actually can be seen as the request to know my abundance. So I can actually use the fear as a reminder of my abundance. And then you start getting just the opposite of what the fear would normally bring to you. Because now you're identifying fear correctly. See, whenever you look at fear as nothing but the request for the thing that you think you're going to lose, because all fear is related to the idea of losing something. So I'm afraid of losing you. Well, then I need to, when I feel that feeling, I need to remind myself that that is actually the prayer to stay joined. That's actually a prayer to stay connected. It's just about looking at it differently. Like he's saying here, if we focus on the unlimitedness, if we focus on the love instead of the physical thing, then it says those things will be added. If I have a consciousness of abundance, there's not going to be a such thing as me not having what I need in the world. It's because my consciousness would not attract that to me. So what I'm conscious of is what I'm physically experiencing. So the more you become conscious of the idea, and that's what's so important. He says that all we have to do is become conscious of the idea, because everything is a manifestation of an idea. So it's the idea of abundance that will continue to create abundance. It's not money. Money is nothing but the result of an idea. So what we want to do is we want to share ideas, because it says that ideas are the one thing that you can share, that you can give it away and still keep it. It's like when you make a copy on a copy machine. You still have the original. I don't care how many copies you made. And that's the way ideas are. The more I tell you that you are abundant, well then I'm strengthening the idea of abundance for me and you. Or if I say, let's go to a movie, I got the idea of going to a movie, but now I just gave it to you, and now you want to go to the movie too. Now the idea of going to the movie is stronger. So it's really about sharing the idea of God, the idea of love, the idea of peace, the idea of abundance, because everything starts out as an idea. But what we are taught to focus on is the physical form, and the physical form is the last phase of anything. First you have the idea of a microphone, then you get the microphone. So if you want to create more microphones, you have to get in touch with the idea of it. So it's ideas that the truth is telling us what you're focusing on, what you're thinking about, what you're conscious of, what you're focusing your attention on, that's what you're going to manifest. So what happens is our perception, when we're trying to change from a lack consciousness to an abundance consciousness, we have a tendency to compare what our present manifested state is to the idea that we think we want to manifest. In other words, I want to manifest more abundance, but I got $10 in the bank right now. So you'll compare what you have right now with the fact that you want to have abundance. He said that will block us. So to go to the next level, you don't compare the situation you created now with the situation that you are asking for through the change of your mind. Because what you are dealing with physically right now is the result of what you told yourself at another time. So by the time it's physical, you're at the tail end of anything. Everything physical is the end of it. You had the idea to come here tonight, right? You physically sitting here is the result of that idea. So that's actually the completion and conclusion of the idea of coming here, right? So now you want to go somewhere else when you leave, right? Well, you don't say, well, I'm here, so I can't go to the restaurant now. That's an idea, and that idea will create the next thing that you want to experience. And so these classes are about us coming together, focusing on the ideas that we want to see manifest. And the more we join on the ideas together, the faster you perceive it. And that's the gift that we can give each other, is that we can join on these ideas together instead of opposing them. And that's the gift we give each other. If not, just, we can just stay at home by ourselves, right? But if we come together, that's us adding power to the idea. So I'm going to break this to you, but you're here to be the creation of a whole new world.
Yay!
I mean, you're here to bring in the new. You're here to bring in the next good, cool way to be. Cool. Not spend the rest of your life being upset about something someone did to you when you were 10 years old. Which is great. All right. Boy. Woo! Okay, anybody else? Yes.
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Sometimes when you're talking right now,
please speak up, people.
Sorry. Sometimes when you're talking right now, I feel like I'm just going to explode. It's like I feel like I'm, I don't know, like being overwhelmed. And then, I don't quite understand that, but I just have to keep myself sitting in my chair. But then I kept getting, when you were talking, this thing, that old saying, fake it until you make it, and wondering if that applies, if you're unconscious, if you say constantly, I'm gonna tell myself this, how that drives into maybe a really deep set unconscious belief.
I'm a man. If I keep telling myself I'm a man, even when I don't think I'm a man, I'm still reinforcing the truth about myself. So I'm not really faking it until I make it. I'm really remembering the truth about myself until I really consciously remember it and accept it as true, which is different from faking it. In other words, if I say you're a loving person and you say you're a loving being, you're not faking that. You are a loving being. What happens is you may not be aware you are a loving being. So what you're doing is reminding yourself of the truth. It's better to look at it, in my perception, as if you're reminding yourself of the truth, because as soon as you said fake it, you're telling your mind that what you're doing isn't real. Does that make sense to everybody? As soon as you say, I'm going to fake it until I make it, you're basically talking about the way the world already is. But if I say, I'm going to remember the truth until I accept it, that's different, because it is the truth about you. You see what I mean? Yeah. Don't forget, everything is just a shift in perception. It's nothing but just you interpreting it differently than you've always interpreted. Because whatever this is whatever it is. Like that old saying, what is. Like, we really don't know what this is, if we be honest with ourselves. We really don't know what this is. We really don't know what's going on. We really don't know who we are. We really don't know really where all this came from. For all we know, we could be like a little gnat on a giant elephant's butt. We don't really know what. Really, when you think about it, we're just making this up as we go along. And we're living definitions and descriptions that people gave us from the time we were born. If you had been taught you were a rabbit, you would be sitting up here saying, I'm a rabbit. You know what I'm saying? We don't get how much we're just acting from totally what we've learned. But what if what you learn isn't true? And then they say, well, how do you know it isn't true? Because you feel anxiety, you feel pressure, you feel fear, and you feel unhappy. He says, that's how you know it's not true. Wow. Well, then the person would go who's really depressed. Well, then that means nothing I believe is true. Yes! Great! That's the best news somebody could have possibly gave you. You are wrong about yourself completely. When you're not loving yourself and you're not thinking. You are wrong when you think you're not valuable and no one could ever love you and you could never. You're wrong when you believe that. That's not true. How do I know? Because of the way I'm friggin' feeling. That's how I know. Wow. Suppose people really looked at it like that. We hate each other. We're upset with each other. That means, you know what? Wait a minute. You're upset with me. I'm upset with you. The first thing we should say to each other right now is we are both misperceiving. How do I know that? Because I want to kill you right now. And when you really become loving, you'll be able to get up in the morning and say, you know, yesterday I really wanted to bash you upside the head with a hammer. You know, and the other person will go, really? Yeah, that's what I was feeling. And you'll say, okay, pass the bread. That's the way a loving relationship would be, because every feeling is innocent. It's just a feeling. The person that gets a chance to just say how they feel will get past it quicker than the person who's angry all the time, who's trying to pretend that they're not. That's the person that you see on top of the building picking people off as they walk by. It's all those repressed people. Not the person who, like you take New York. It's like when I was in New York a few months ago. You know, that's what you hear all the time. And I realized the reason why it's not a ridiculous level of violence and everybody killing each other is that they do that. You know, but they're getting it out. But nobody's getting out their car attacking each other. They're just expressing what they feel. So don't think you're being unconscious because you're not in denial about what you're feeling. It's not a sign of spirituality to pretend that you feel a way you don't really feel. Yeah. You're not being spiritual when you say, I feel guilty. You feeling guilty and you tell me you're feeling fine. How you doing, Chris? Oh, I'm feeling great. No, you lying, Chris. Yeah. You're not being authentic. Now, let me put a little qualifier on that. To somebody who doesn't know the truth, who's unconscious, who believes that you're victims and that you're a body and that things are being done to you and they believe in your powerlessness, say, I'm doing fine. Okay? A conscious being who knows that you're a loving, powerful being and you're upset and you're afraid right now and you're feeling, then tell them, you know, right now, I'm really feeling guilty about feeling like I assumed something. Why could you tell me that? Because you knew I was going to see you beyond whatever you were feeling. That I wasn't going to forget that you're an unlimited spiritual being, that you're a beautiful being, that you're a loving being. Well, then it's okay then for you to tell me all the things you feel. But if you're saying it to a person who really believes that you are a victim, who really doesn't believe that you're loving, who really believes that they are a victim, then you go, I'm doing great. Right? Yeah. That's what you do with those people. Yeah. How you doing? Fine. Because long after you no longer feel guilty and upset, they'll still be holding the image in their mind of you being someone that's weak and got a problem. So they actually help prolong that idea for you because they don't know who you really are. They think you're just the way you happen to be presenting yourself in this moment while you're upset. So be conscious of who you reveal how you're feeling to. And make sure it's someone who will remember how beautiful and how powerful you are, even though you may be feeling sad and upset and insecure right now. Not somebody who will add to your burden by actually seeing you as being that person that's lacking in some way. Does that make sense? I keep asking, I have to check in with everybody. Because what we're here to do is to hear another way of looking at it that you don't have to accept and you don't have to believe. I can have an honest conversation with you if I can say what I'm being told to say, and you can feel it's okay to accept or reject it. That's how you communicate. That's what I was telling Peter earlier. If you're communicating with somebody, but you've got an expectation of how they should respond and they have to agree with you in order for you to be okay, it's best not to say anything when you're coming from that level, because that level is not the level that creates a peaceful communication. Okay, you telling me something, let me give you my honest reaction. Not the reaction you necessarily want, but let me give you my honest reaction. And don't you attack me for that. Because if you attack me for that, I'm going to stop telling you what I think. I'm going to stop telling you what I feel. And one day, I'm going to abandon your butt. You're going to wake up and I'm not going to be there. Why? Because I've been trying to talk to you and I can't talk to you. I've been trying to share with you what I'm going through and you don't want to hear it. You just want to hear your point of view, so I'm out of here. And that's what a lot of times what appears to create abandonment. It's you, when someone just ups and leaves you and you say you don't know why, that means you're a very poor listener and a very, very poor observer. Because they gave you a million hints before they said, I'm done. But you were so deep in your own fantasy of what you thought should be happening that you were not paying attention. And now they're gone. You go, oh, no, they couldn't talk to you because they tried to, and you jumped down their throat as soon as they said something you didn't like. And that they go, oh, it's not safe to talk to you. Or you don't feel heard. You'd be amazed at just how just repeating back to the person what they just said to you would dispel 90% of the separation that you're having with them. Oh, I heard you say that when I come home 3 hours late and I don't call and let you know that that's something that really causes pain within you or upset within you. Okay, I hear that. Notice I didn't say I was wrong or bad. I just said I hear what you're saying. That's all most people want anyway, is to be heard. Period. That's all they want, just to know you heard them. But if you feel defensive and you feel guilty, you won't let them get it out. And when you don't let them get it out, then they don't get a chance to do what? Be transparent and let it pass through. Because do you know behind every feeling of anger and hurt and fear that you have is love? That if you could actually get it out, behind all of that is your own center and your own peace and your own being able to handle things. It's behind the anger and upset. So when someone is saying something that they're really upset about, if any way possible, you can just breathe and let them get it out, and then go. And you really want to get past it really quick to that consciousness of forgiveness and unlimitedness that this is talking about. What you do is when they get through saying all of it, and you breathe, and even when you may feel like you want to jump in and be defensive because what they just said you believe is true. That's why you're being defensive. Then what you do is play really big and then say, and is there anything else you need to say? And what you'll see happen 9 out of 10 times, tried, is they will be the one that will correct themselves. They go, well, it's really not, I understand it, you might not really have meant to do that, or, but maybe I had a part to play in this too. Because once they get it all out, then they can start to see clearly. And when you start to see clearly, then you can go for the piece that you can join on. It's really that simple. But when a person wants to be right more than they want to be happy, they will not do that. When it's more important for me to be right and you to be wrong, I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen. One of the things I'm most proud about myself is that I don't pull it off all the time, but most of the time I can listen to what somebody's saying to me without defending myself. Even if it looks like what they're saying isn't even true. I don't even bother to even defend that, because it doesn't matter what they think. It matters what you think about you. Not what other people think about you is none of your business. It really isn't. It's none of your business. I don't need somebody, well, you want to tell me, I want to tell you what I feel about you. It's like, okay, if you want to, but I really don't care to hear it. I'm okay with me. I'm not here to act out your script, because that's what you're upset with me about. I'm not acting out your script. You're not interested in me. You're interested in your fantasy that you want me to act out. That's what you're in love with, not me. Because if you were in love with me, you wouldn't be trying to change me. You would be accepting me as I am if I'm not being violent. Does that make sense to everybody? Most people are not in love with you. They're in love with their fantasy and their dream that they're hoping you'll act out for them. That need they think you're going to meet. That's why they can change people so. Why do you think people can change to another person so fast? Because it has nothing to do with you. I just hope you can give me what I want. You can't give it? I just hope you can give it to me. You can't give it to me? I hope you. Notice I'm not even asking you what you want. I'm trying to get in a relationship so I can be happy and satisfied. I'm not saying, oh my God, Aura, how can I be a means for your joy and happiness? That's why I want to be in a relationship with you as much as my happiness. What do you want, dear? What's important to you? Oh, no, it's like, I'm upset with Aura because I need somebody that cooks. And she don't want to cook. So I'm not about you. It's about my diet. And that's the way, you know, it's the same thing if somebody just wants you for sex or whatever. It's like, I'm not interested in you. I just want your body part. If you want to give me that body part, will you give me the body part? Will you give me the body part? Okay, I'm just successful with any of you women giving me the body. Will you give me the body part? You know, I'm just going to switch over to the other side, see if I can get the body part over there. You know, so it's not, it doesn't have anything to do with you. So the next time you're getting ready to change yourself because somebody is upset with you, ask yourself if it's really about you or is it really about them? Are they mad at you because you are not doing something for them? But you are left out. Whew! Let me stop before I get in trouble. More trouble than I already get. Because if you're doing this right, and don't forget this, if you're really hearing the truth right, it's going to upset you sometimes. It's almost impossible if you're really hearing what these books are teaching that sometimes you don't get upset about what you hear. That's how you know you heard it. Because something, you heard it so much, something got triggered to the point that you felt, ugh! And a lot of times you realize you're doing all the things that it's saying you shouldn't do if you're a loving person, that you're the one that's doing it. And we go, oh my God, that's me. I was just going off just before I came over here. Because I had this thing that somebody was supposed to be doing. And he was saying it will be added to us if we focus on demonstrating love. He says if we focus on the content of what? Forgiveness, being unlimited, our purpose, our passion, what we love. He says if we'll focus on those things, then you will be in the world, but you won't be struggling or striving. What you want and what you need will come to you. And people who don't think this way don't believe it. And they use their experience as proof that it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work for you. You don't accept it as true yet. So don't listen to people whose experience is totally opposite from the thought you're trying to live. Does that make sense? Yeah. And that's how we mess up. You have somebody say, well, that's crap that dude talked about tonight. Everybody knows that you got to strive really, really hard. Okay, now notice what they're saying. So their experience demands that of them because that's what they believe that it takes. So they're going to be right. Their experience is an experience of struggle. You say, you can't trust people. You don't argue with that. That's their experience. A person who doesn't trust people is always going to need to be defending and protecting themselves, and they'll be drawing people to them who aren't trustworthy, which makes them feel like they're right about not trusting people. And then when you say you trust people, they'll say you're naive. Because they don't believe you can. And their world is surrounded by people they have to defend themselves against. But someone who's truly going, I'm going to trust myself, I'm going to trust my source, then they draw people who are trustworthy, and their personal world is full of people who are. So people who don't trust and people who do are in two different worlds. People who love and people who fear are in two different worlds, and to the people in those worlds, it seems real to them, and then they join with other people who are just as fearful, and you call that a society. So for a while, you'll be between both of them, and that's disorienting and confusing. You know it is. See, when I think I'm a victim in the world, it's something I have to be afraid about, and I'm sure about that. I'm not in conflict. You can't trust people, that's the way it is. I'm not in conflict. Then they say the person who goes, hey, I'm a loving being, I can trust. They're not in conflict, and their world is reflecting trustworthy people. But somebody that's trying to move from being fearful and not trusting to being loving and trusting, they're going to have to go through that in-between stage where they trust a little and they don't. And they trust some and they don't. And so it's confusing to them and it's disorienting. But if you keep going for, I want to move in the direction of trust. I want to move in the direction of trust. I don't want to believe it's not, that you have to not trust and be afraid. That person is going to be supported by the universe. That person is going to have more and more trustworthy people drawn to them who proves to them that it's worthwhile to go in that direction. Because that's their goal. So we may be in that in-between stage right now, where you're trying to go from a fearful person to a loving person, from an unconscious person to a conscious person, from a lack person to an abundant person. So for a while, you're going to still be going from that fear of lack to that love, and when you're feeling that lack and you're feeling that fear, you're supposed to say, oh, that's just a call for me to remember love. Oh, that's just a call for me to remember that I'm abundant. Oh, that's just a call for me to remember that I don't have to be lonely. My loneliness is a cue to remember that that's the result of the way I used to think, and now I'm asking for a whole new way of being, and I'm going to move in that direction. And it also requires saying no to certain behavior, no to people treating you in a way that you used to be okay about and acceptable. So freedom really lies in no more than it lies in yes when you're trying to make your transition. Because your old self is going to draw everybody to you to try to pull you back into the way you used to be when you say you want to make a change. Even the people you thought that would be most supportive of you, you'll find them sometimes trying to pull you back into the old way of being. Like somebody who's trying to lose weight and their friends are the ones that saying, let's go down to Burger King and get the most triple double burger that they make. Oh girl, come on, have that hamburger. And the very people you think would be going, right on, I know you're trying. Why? Because if you can change, they can change. If you can change, it takes away their excuse of being a victim about their experience. But there'll be other people that will go, who love you, that'll go, hey, I'm supporting you every way I can. Just tell me what you need. Like you were saying about assumption. Assumption just means you're not asking enough questions. That's all it means. And you'll find more and more as you wake up, you have to stop assuming. Because you'll make the mistake of believing that other people are thinking the way you're thinking as you begin to think this, and you find out they're not thinking that way at all. And you need to have asked them how they think or what they want. So start to ask more and more questions, because the more questions you ask, it means you're not judging as much. Because if you judge, then you're going to interpret somebody's motivation, and then you're going to react to them as if your judgment is true. If I ask you where you're coming from, then I'm getting beyond my judgment, and I'm coming from a place of I don't know. You know, you can simply say to a person, are you interested in me? Are you attracted to me? Do you want to spend time with me? Do you like the way I express myself with you? Rather than assume you know what's going to please them. You could just ask them. Okay, knowledge yourself. Holy Spirit, would you give it to yourself, or even beginning to hear any of this? Just for a second, I heard the crickets outside. Did you hear them? That's okay, because you know what? It's sobering to hear this stuff. It's sobering to hear this stuff. Like when you really hear it, it does kind of make you go. And so that's cool. That's normal. That's normal. That's all right. So let's do the financial expression of appreciation. Thank you, Holy Spirit. I'm going to do a quick review at the end, so hold on online and watch it. And if you want to make an expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can do it there. And I'm also open for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions. Let me give you that, Don. Hey, Chris, would you pass that around the back for me? Hey, you online, thank you so much for your expressions of appreciation. And I'm available for one-on-ones. If you're really ready to get past the blocks and you like some support in doing that, that's what my clarity sessions are about. So if you go to my website, earlpurdy.com, it explains all of it to you. On Sundays, we do A Course in Miracles at 1 o'clock. I'm going to complete this tonight by sharing with you something very practical. So I'm going to do this a little bit different. I'd like for you to just take a moment to just close your eyes and just focus in on the sound of my voice. You are totally lovable and loving. You only deserve forgiveness, peace, unlimitedness, and the recognition of your unlimited power. Your unlimited power. When you leave here tonight and for the rest of this week, focus your attention on that which brings you joy. Focus your attention on that which brings you joy. And whatever it is that puts a smile upon your face, give that some true priority. When you focus on your personal peace above all else, then the world won't be able to hook you. And all things shall be added unto you. There's a way of being in this world that requires no planning or striving. No planning or striving. All you have to tell yourself is that I am committed to my freedom. I am committed to my freedom. I am committed to my freedom. I'm committed to freedom. I'm committed to love. I'm committed to freedom. Freedom is love and love is freedom. And freedom is love and love is freedom. When your feelings arise, don't condemn yourself for any feeling. All your feelings are innocent. All your feelings are just your feelings. Don't beat yourself up whenever you have what you think of as a negative feeling. Stop feeling negative about your negative feelings. Stop attacking yourself about what you think of as your negative feelings. That gives them a lot of power. Just tell yourself, I'm going to let this feeling go. I'm going to acknowledge it. I'm going to feel it. And then I'm going to substitute the thought of gratitude for this feeling. Move in the direction of your passion. What are you passionate about? What makes you, this stuff makes me feel, obviously, you can see that I have passion about what I'm teaching you and what I'm teaching me. I have passion about this. If I came here and I had no passion, you wouldn't come here. So whatever it is, you want to embrace it. You want to live it totally. You want to live it totally with passion and with purpose and with power and with perfect freedom. And when you're doing it, you can tell that you're doing it. You can tell that you're doing it because you will feel no anxiety and no pressure. No anxiety and no pressure. And if you feel anxiety, if you feel pressure, let it come and let it go. Let it come and let it go. It's gonna go, it's gonna come, it's gonna go, it's gonna come, and doubt's gonna come and go, and fear's gonna come and go on the way to letting it go. It's gonna come and go on the way to letting it go. It's going to come and go on the way to letting it go. It's gonna come and go on the way to letting it go. It's gonna come, it's gonna go on the way to letting it go. The fear is gonna come, it's gonna go on the way to letting it go. The upset's gonna come, it's gonna go on the way to letting it go. You wanna be transparent. You wanna be transparent. Let it come and let it go. And let it come and let it go. And let it come and let it go. You deserve love. You deserve love. You deserve love. You deserve abundance. You deserve abundance. You deserve love. You are unlimited. You are powerful. You are awesome. That's the truth about you, whether you believe it or not. So tell yourself the truth for 5 minutes a day, whether you believe it or not. Tell yourself the truth about you. You won't be faking it until you make it. You will be remembering the truth about yourself that you've forgotten. And surround yourself with people who remind you of the truth of how beautiful you are when you have forgotten. And that's the role you play with your friends and your relatives and your partners when they're doubting themselves and they feel afraid and they feel angry and they're putting themselves down and they're feeling guilty. You're supposed to be the voice that reminds them of their value, that they are priceless treasures, so that they can move through that very quickly. Let them express themselves. Don't jump in and interrupt out of fear and defensiveness if you can help it. And if you do jump in out of fear and defensiveness, that's your call for love. So forgive yourself. You are learning. You are a learner. You are a learner. You are a learner. So be gentle with yourself. You are a learner and you're not alone. 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 You are a blessing in my life. You are a blessing in my life. You are a blessing. You are a blessing. You are a blessing. You are a blessing in my life. You are a blessing in your life. You are a blessing to everyone around you. You are a blessing. 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 Mighty companions, may this course be with you. Let's acknowledge us. Let's give it to us. Whoa. Wow. So, on Sunday.